Hey guys, I'm Brent, and welcome to Pastor Chat with Pastor Lynn. So, Pastor Lynn, incredible message, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hey, so really quick, as we're talking about heaven, one of the things that you said in your closing prayer, which I thought was really powerful, I wrote it down. You said, "What did you do with the life I gave you?" And that's
Yeah.
Jesus asking us a question. My question to you is do you think that God has things that He would deem as more important that we should do in our lives versus what we think is important?
Yeah. I think ultimately God's looking for a fully surrendered life. So he wants it all. But if you were said, hey, Lynn, what's like my first priority? What's the thing I got to get right if I don't get everything else right? And at that point, I just say it's our families, it's our home, right? You think about it. We stand in front of public and we say, hey, this is what I'm going to do to honor God. It's how I take care of my spouse. And at the end of the day, a lot of us aren't going to necessarily have unbelievably or amazing marriages because it takes two to do
Right.
that. But I think it still is on us to say, what type of a husband was I? My wife may have, had some issues. What type of a husband was I to my wife
That's
who
good.
maybe wasn't 100% in? Or vice versa, you're a wife that says, hey, my husband's not all in for our marriage, but what did I do
Right.
in my marriage on my part? And then when it comes to our kids, there's this huge responsibility to raise up the next generation. And one of the challenges we say all the time here at Cornerstone is, what if we made sure that our kids were better followers of Jesus than we were?
That's good.
And so if you said, hey, Lynn, what's the one that I have to get right if I don't get anything else right? And I'd say it's our homes. It's number one, which is why you come to church every Sunday, because you want your family in church. It's why you model Jesus in your home, because you want your kids to see Jesus on you. So that would be number one, is my guess.
No, that's really good. So, as a follow up question, in your message, you talked about and gave the parable of the three men with the talents. The one who had one, the other who had three, the other who had five, and two of them multiplied their talents.
Right.
But I also get a feeling that there are individuals within the church who kind of look at the talents that we see at church. So, people
Yeah.
who can preach, people who can sing, people who can play music. But then there are people who sit in the pews and say, man, I'm just an accountant, or
Yeah.
I have some other type of gift. How is it that God uses those individuals to maximize?
Yeah, I
the
think
kingdom?
one of the mistakes happens in church is surely there are talents that, are what I would call upfront talents. I mean, if somebody's teaching a class, everybody sees it. If somebody's leading worship, everybody sees it. And unfortunately, sometimes we go, well, that's all the church is somebody teaching a class or being up front. And what you realize is no, I mean, all the gifts are at use. There's going to be people who just need someone to bring them a meal, right? And maybe you've got a gift of mercy, and there's something in your heart that always goes out to people that are struggling. There's going to be people who just have lived enough life that they give amazing counsel. And you should probably be up front on Sunday mornings when we get done meeting people and saying, let me explain to you what God's taught me and learn. I'm not going to do that in front of a class, but I can. And things as simple as even accounting. You don't think we have to account and keep record? So the reality is, whatever God's placed in you, there's a place in the kingdom for you to get used. Sometimes they're quieter or maybe behind the scenes gifts. On a typical Sunday, I don't know if people even realize this, just to put the service on, I think we've got 80 volunteers just doing the service. You see about 12,
Right.
So again, yeah, whatever God has placed in you, I guarantee you there's a place in the kingdom for you to leverage that for God.
That's really good. And as a final question, since we're talking about leveraging your gift, multiplying your gift, what resources would you say are available for people who really want to maximize the gift that God has given them? So when they make it into heaven, they can hear those
Yeah.
words, man, well done.
Here's what I would say. If you're struggling with that, right? You're saying, hey, I don't know where God could use me. I don't know what my gifts and talents line up for. And just raise your hand. And what raising your hand here looks like is you fill out one of our cards. You call the church office. You come forward on a Sunday and say, look, I want God to use me. How do I do that? And the truth is, we're probably going to get you into one of our classes. Maybe it's Discovering Your Gifts classes. Maybe we're going to get you into what we call Volunteer Central, that literally works to figure out what God built you to do and then find where that assignment works out in the church. You don't have to do this blind, right? So it really boils down to raising your hand and going, hey, I'm ready. I want my life to count more, and let us give you some help.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely, man.
And thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope to see you next weekend.